Over the last few weeks I've been making some coasters, but it's been a very on and off process. I started one set and then started a second set, and then as it happens I've ended up finishing the second set before we finished the first set. So the footage I've got is a bit out of order. It's all very confusing, and I haven't even started on the third set yet. Well, obviously it has started, but I haven't started making any videos about the third set. Anyway, let's try and fill in some of the gaps in the narrative here. We've been making coasters. The first set I made by clamping down the wood into the mould and then pouring. The second set, I took a piece of board, glued down the individual bits because there were too many to clamp, and then planned to remove the board afterwards with the planer. And that's pretty much brings us up to date. I'll carry on with the story. So this piece with all these different inclusions, I've got a hardboard back on, so I'm going to plan is to take the top down to flat and then flip it and sand that and plane that hardboard back off. Okay, turns out there's actually another gap in the narrative here. I don't have any footage of planing the top surface or flipping it and planing the hardboard base off, and I don't have any footage of then running it through the bandsaw to cut them into squares. We rejoin the story a couple of weeks later where I'm sanding down the edges. Oh well. Okay, so I'm back making these coasters, and I cast them, and then I've planed them and trimmed them into squares, although not very good squares it turns out. What's left is to trim the edges, sand the edges, route the corners, sand the faces, seal the wood with oil, and then polishing. Those are the stages that are left. Right now I'm just going to try and make them a little bit more square and to polish up these edges, hopefully without removing too much material. So I can already see it's not what I want. Okay, so this will not be a particularly riveting part of the video, but this is a how-to guide for future me. I have my coasters that I've been working on, although I haven't worked on them for a while, and they have these heavy machine marks on still from planer. So I need to do 5 different grades of sanding, followed by 6 grades of sanding, and then some oiling and then some polishing. And for each grade I need to do round of sanding, then I need to mist it and wipe it, and then I need to write the number on so I can see whether I've taken enough material off, and then I need to go again on each coaster on each side. So it's just going to be a lot of sanding, but with any luck it will take these from being mucky and milky to being like glass, which would be cool if it works. Bit worried about how much material I'm removing. Right, now, do I do a whole load of more of these, or do I go up through the grades and see what happens? I think I go up through the grades and see what happens. So that was 120. Now we need a 180. Okay. 1, Okay, from 240, sorry, from 180 we go to 240. There's a 400. That is fantastically smooth. I'm supposed to do 3 more at this grade, so let's do it. See what happens. I think I'm eating into the wood too much, but let's see. 5. Well, it has to be said that that is probably the smoothest wood I've ever sanded, but the resin is still quite, well, translucent at best. So let's assume we're going to sand it like the instructions say and then polish it afterwards. Looks more reassuring. I don't know what's more miraculous, the change in the wood or the change in the resin. Unfortunately, while the change in the wood will remain, the change in the resin is only short-lived. Leave it up to dry. Okay, so today I think I have a lot of sanding to do. I have 2 coasters here. This one I've sanded all the way up through the grades and then put 2 coats of Danish oil on, and this one is yet to be sanded, and hopefully it's clear the difference. I do want to use the polisher. Not sure whether to do that first. Maybe polish this one up and see what the final result looks like, and before settling into sanding all the rest of them to the same level. I think I'm going to do the polishing first. I think I'm more excited by that. Let's do the polishing. Okay, so I have this cheap Chinese polishing device with a soft foam pad on it. I'm going to use the soft foam pad and then a buffer, which I'm keeping dust free for now. I have some of this Top Finish 2 Ultra Gloss polishing compound, which I'm supposed to spread on here first of all. I've never done this before, so this is all an experiment. Right then, let us see what is inside here. Oh, slobbery. I'm not going to go too crazy with this stuff yet. Maybe a bit crazier than that though. Okay. And I think the thing here is to make sure this doesn't get too hot. I expect this is going to squirt everywhere. Apart from the polishing compound's got into a couple of little gaps. That looks pretty polished. Let's do the reverse and see what happens. That needs a bit more pump, a bit more compound. Maybe I should, does it make sense to put it on the thing or on the thing? It's got compound somewhere. Okay. Next side. Okay, I'm going to cover that. Take it off. Put buffer on. Alright. I don't know if that's as clear as I hoped. In actual fact, I think that needs more buffing. Now I think every time you put more of this on, you're kind of starting again, because I think this is kind of self-ablating. It breaks down into finer and finer grit essentially. But since I'm just experimenting, let's see what happens if I use more of it. I don't know if that is as clear as it's going to get. And would I be pleased if I got them all to that level, or should I keep going on this one and see how polished it has? It's got a new rippled texture to it, which I couldn't see before. I don't know whether we've added that or whether we've exposed it by making it more transparent. I mean, as a coaster it's definitely going to be see-through. Yeah, I think that's probably adequate. I think I should just set up now to batch process at least 3 if not 7 more coasters, which will not make great telly because you've really seen the best bit now, but I'm going to do it anyway. Let's see what happens. I've just sanded up to 800. Gotta take a break now because my hand's tingly and my neighbours are probably going crazy at the noise. But there we go, that's 3 more in about probably just under an hour. I'm taken through 125 times, 185 times, 245 times, 407 times, 807 times. I'm going to stop there before we go on to the 1200 wet sanding. And after the 1200 wet sanding, we can Danish oil. So here we go, 4 rounds, 1200, not inking them, so I better write down what phase I'm on. Okay, number 1, both sides. The Danish oil, coat of Danish oils next. One of my favourite bits. There we go, first coat of oil on, and they're looking pretty good. My Danish oil has cured, so it's time to finish this first set of coasters with a polish. So get the polishing stuff out again. Trying to gauge how much polishing you need to do. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put a load of polish on here, see if that makes any difference. Paint it right onto all the resin. See what that does. Okay, so I've ordered some little rubber feet to go on the bottom of these, and overall, well, they're not bad. So things that didn't go right here, I've torn out quite a number of bits of wood here. Whether that's the wood choice, or the way I was sanding it was too aggressive, or the routing passes were too deep. The resin on the whole is pretty clear. It's not glass clear, but if it's up against something, it's nice and transparent. The sanding and the polishing has gone pretty well. I think I would repeat that process again. I didn't make them as square as I would have liked, which meant the corners aren't as nice and round as I would have liked. And they're not as flat as I would have liked because I made them in a single mould rather than in 4 individual moulds. Next set, 4 individual moulds. And I think I can get slightly nicer results. I would like to, when I cut all these triangles, I cut them on the bandsaw and I cut them all with vertical edges. I think they'd look nicer if they were canted, so they had angled edges, so you could see the angles or the bevels through the coasters. But they're not bad for a first attempt. I'm pretty pleased. Anyway, thanks for watching.